Route 66 travelers. Welcome to this week's Road Trip Rest Stop, where we have taken an exit off of the highway to recapture the ideas of the book of Exodus. Now, this past Sunday, we learned about how God rescued the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and put himself in their midst. Just like the picture of him rescuing us in our lives from sin and drawing us closer to him. And that was our theme, that God draws us to himself. Now, how does he do that? Well, number one, we talked about how God draws us out. He draws us out of where we are. Just like the Israelites, we were helpless in the state that we were in, but then God goes to battle for us. And when he goes to battle for us, he draws us out and saves us. We saw this as a picture of God's rescuing when they came to the Red Sea. And that was a huge imagery in this epic book that we read and this epic adventure that was taken. See, the waters parted and the Israelites walked through, and as they came onto the other side, they were drawn up out of that water and put into new life. We talked about how that's salvation in our lives, how salvation is new birth, and we are drawn from the water of the womb into a new life. And like baptism, we go down into the water and old, and when we come back, we're drawn out of the water into new life. So God draws us out as he drew the Israelites out of Egypt and slavery. But then we looked at the second part of that, and the second part was that God then draws us in. He draws us into himself. See, just like the Israelites, a lot of times early on, we cry out in the wilderness. We find things that we just don't like about what God's doing at this point in time. We whine, we complain, we have a lot of issues that we take before God and say, why is it this way? And the funny part is that the Israelites got so complacent in that they started looking backwards. And I thought it was important for us to address this in the Road Trip Rest Stop. See, the Israelites actually started to think that there was a positive nature to going backwards. They whined and complained because they didn't have everything that they wanted or thought that they needed. But they talked about, oh, well, in Egypt, yeah, we may have been slaves, but at least we had everything that we needed at the end of the day. And now we got to figure it out all on our own. And yet God provided himself an opportunity to teach them at that moment in time, just as he does with us. See, a lot of times we look back in our lives and we think about, oh, that was so much easier. And I see the difficulty in moving forward with you, God. And I'm not so sure I want to deal with that difficulty when I'm good right here in my comfort zone. But what happens is just as God gave Israelite the 10 commandments and gave them an instruction manual, so he does that with his word. And it's our job to get into that word because that's our guidebook. See, because God reveals himself and he gives us that word to guide us. We don't have to do this or go at it alone, just like the Israelites didn't have to do it or go at it alone in the wilderness. And when that happens, when we go to that guidebook, when we dive into that word and we seek after him and we follow, then God draws us to himself as we follow through in obedience to what his word says. And I think it's a powerful verse in Exodus chapter 19, verses 5 and 6. I want to read this again for you. Now, therefore, if you will indeed obey my voice and keep my covenant, you shall be my treasured possession among all peoples, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words that you shall speak to the people of Israel. He told Moses, he said, listen, let them know the power that resides in obedience to me. I'll guide, I'll protect, I'll take care of, I'll provide. Just follow and trust me. And that's the call to us as well, to get into his word, to follow, and to be the children and people of God. Well, hey, as you prepare to form and study, and as you prepare to get deeper into his word this week, I encourage you to continue in your memorization. And I continue to encourage you to dive deeper into the application of God drawing us out and God drawing us in. On that note, I leave you to your study. And we'll see you as we step back on the highway and continue the road trip down Route 66 this coming Sunday with Leviticus. We'll see you then. Happy studies.